Get more clarity in the coming hours. The car decides live for us at the National Assembly complex in Abuja. Let's get back to the studio where I have the Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi. Honorable Minister, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Interestingly, you were at the Senate and we were talking about the possibility of having Mr. President come in for the first time, not presenting a budget. How do you see this?
Well, this is brilliant, and one thing you cannot take away is the fact that he is a super Democrat. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a super Democrat, and of course he wants to create innovative ways of governance, and the relationship between the various arms of government is critical to the success of government. And I think with a chief of staff who was Speaker of the House of Representatives, the People's House, I think you should expect that certain things that have been said in the past will come to play, as in this case. And it's a very positive and sweet realization of the fact that democracy is what we need to deepen.
Indeed.
And doing this is a way of deepening that democracy. And to say that celebrating my 1 year in office and also having a handshake
Indeed.
with the National Assembly, and at any rate, he was a senator.
Absolutely.
The vice president is.
We were just talking about
the
that.
First lady is.
That's you as
the SGF is.
I mean, it's an amazing combination that we have.
Absolutely.
And perhaps it also would mean that this administration might likely not have issues with the 10th National Assembly.
Well,
are you optimistic about that?
Yes, I'm optimistic that we shouldn't have issues, but let's not get it wrong. The National Assembly will still do their work, and the executive will still do their work.
You know what I'm talking about?
But what I'm looking at is that the rules of engagement are better understood by the players on both sides.
On both sides.
And that is what is going to make it seamless, yes.
Indeed.
And I think that is the wealth of experience. The SGF is a senator, the First Lady, Mr. President, his vice, and substantial numbers of, and the Chief of Staff was a presiding officer. So I think when you look at all of these, and of course the Deputy Chief of Staff to Mr. President, who is in the office of the Vice President, my friend Senator Hadija, is also a senator. So I think the combination of legislative experience that this government is having will be a key game changer. All right, we're looking forward to it. Relationship.
We're also counting on it,
yeah.
Such that it doesn't now become a narrative of, an organ becoming a rubber stamp, whatever the
No, well, like I said, that is why I was trying to tease the facts, because one thing is certain: when we understand what needs to be done and we act in that manner, then you won't see problem. It doesn't mean they are rubber stamps. It's just that the executive is doing the right thing. And when you do the right thing and you take it to chamber, okay, are they suddenly going to say, okay, because they just want to have crisis, then they will say, no, this is not right.
Indeed.
And I think that is just the point that people should take note of.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So time will tell whether or not Mr. President will address the joint session of the National Assembly today, or he will just be there to open up the new complex. Let's turn our attention to your ministry. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, recently was quoted to have said that this administration has injected 309 billion naira through wheat production. That's a huge amount of money, and it made headlines everywhere. And then people are like, so why is there still hunger in the land? Why is food so expensive? Maybe we should begin from there.
All right. When you say inject, people misunderstood what was said. And the minister never said we injected. He was quoted out of context. What he was presenting is that the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, in line with President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's charge for the Renew Hope agenda for food security, we started the dry season farming last year. The dry season farming was 2023-2024 season. Last year, November, we were in Jigawa State to launch that particular program. Now, overall, we had 118,000 hectares that were farmed for wheat. And the grains that came out of that production was what he was saying. The output of that effort was estimated to be worth 309 billion.
Okay.
It's not raw 309 billion that was put. No. The output of our effort is worth 309 billion.
So where are all these wheats?
The wheat are there in the market, and as we speak, maybe perhaps it will be of interest if you can decide to engage the market in terms of, for example, the flour mill of Nigeria, who are a major users of the wheat, and you understand what we have been able to achieve.
You know, the way Nigerians process this information is such a way that they mirror it with their current economic reality.
We understand that.
And whether or not it has impacted on the price of food.
Okay, but listen to it.
Yes.
You don't eat raw wheat, do you? You process it into flour, isn't it? And then many products are made out of it. But what is important is that before now, what was our volume of production? It was below 120,000 tons. And in this, we have produced over 400 something thousand tons of wheat. So, and we've just started. That was the first year. Now, with what we are doing, we are preparing both for the rainy season and the dry season. The intendment is that we are going to increase our size of production. Because you see, it is a simple demand and supply thing. But at the same time also, let's not forget that agriculture is not operated in a vacuum. When we produce, there is value chain, and prices are impacted by various value chain activities, which is far beyond what agriculture can do. But let me say that we are aware, for example, you look at transport. Now, based on the new renewed hope agenda for transportation sector, of course, we are looking at the CNG driven vehicles, which will bring down the cost of logistics, and when that happens, it will impact on that. But I know, yes, somebody will say, well, we are hungry. That is true. But we can't solve this problem just with one soup action. And the president has said it very times without number that, look, I'm not a magician. I'm here to work. I want to understand the problems, and I get down to work. And we have been working. Part of that working is the fact that now we are having a dry season program, which was never something we give attention to before. But now we are going to. Our emphasis is for us to have all year-round farming and overall increase the productivity of this effort. And that is why you hear us talking about the mechanization, what do they call it, programs of government. We are having agreement with John Deere. In fact, for that particular one, as we speak, 500, tractors are on their way to Nigeria. And the Green Imperative project is there. The Greener Hope mechanization project is there. And all of this is designed to provide mechanization services to many farmers.
Indeed.
And definitely, Nigerian youths are the key target here, because no youth would like to go into farming using hoe and cutlass. We want to change the narrative. When you bring mechanization, a lot can happen. Planters, harvesters, ridgers, all the things. And I remember vividly when you say, look, those tractors should come with AC so I can put on my tire. And that is the mentality of the youth, and they are right about it. And what I also want to say here is the fact that when we continue to do our own production and we have food available with other indices that are impacted also being taken care of course, the vision is for us to have food that is affordable and is available on a sustainable basis.
So this administration has done 1 year now.
Yeah.
Perhaps you can paint for us an idea of the timeline between which all of these efforts will come to fruition and Nigerians will begin to feel the impact and say, oh, indeed, now the prices have gone down. Now we have all of this.
Yes, let me say this. The dynamics of the market goes beyond the agricultural sector. But what we can say in the agricultural sector is the fact that we are laying a solid foundation for a sustainable food system for Nigeria. We don't want a flash in the pan, you come and do this and then suddenly everything disappears. So if that has to happen, we need to get it right. So the first major constraint Nigerian farmers face is mechanization. And so we are doing, with all of the programs we are having, by the end of this year, a number of inputs will have come on board. Right now, we are already having, pockets of intervention that we are giving. For example, irrigation pumps. We are also making some, efforts on that. And even the sprayers, the knapsack, rather than farmers having rudimentary ways, which is even, injurious to their health, we are having better ways of handling this. And the aspect of even providing training for them to make sure that they are able to utilize all of these things effectively through what we call good agricultural practices. They are also part of what we are doing. But you see, agriculture is based on season timing. The rainy seasons are upon us right now.
Indeed.
And we are currently distributing the 2,150,000 fertilizers that Mr. President ordered the CBN
Indeed.
to hand over to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. That is ongoing as we speak, so that we are able to timelessly meet the expectations of Nigerian farmers who will be able to apply it for this season's farming.
How well do you think we're doing in keeping abreast with, the latest innovation in agriculture? Because when you talk about seasons, there's now hydroponic farming.
Yeah.
There is, you can farm in the air, inside water.
Yes, absolutely.
And there's need for us to do this in large scale.
This is in our program. Greenhouses, hydroponic solutions are in our program this year. And we are working to make sure that we get young Nigerians who will be trained, empowered to go into this production. That's the way to go, because the youth are involved. And you cannot get the youth to take hoe and cutlass again. That is rudimentary, that is past. And this is what we are looking at, technology.
How do you intend to do things?
And
training, so...
Yeah, it's basically first providing training to targeted youths who are interested, because the youths who are interested are out there. And we are going to get that. Apart from that, you provide the tools for the hydroponics, because it comes with a lot of requirements. Yeah. So if you provide all of these things and support the youth with it, then they are ready to take it on. Okay? The issue of greenhouse, to make sure that at the end of the day, you are able to have all year round production. Because when you do greenhouses, you have mini drip irrigation facilities, you have seeds, you have fertilizers that comes with it, and you make it available to Nigerian farmers. That is it. For example, also, with the Office of the First Lady, we have a budget line this year that we're going to collaborate with her, because you can see she's making effort to see if you can have, garden in a home. Indeed. And to encourage young school, clubs where they are focusing on agricultural production. So for me, what I would like to say is that it's a bouquet of activities, all synergized to complement one another on a sustainable basis. When you talk about technology, you are talking about seeds, for example. This year, we have 23 varieties of seeds of various types, cutting across crops, maize, such as crops, maize, and, I think cowpeas. So at the end of the day, you are having high improved varieties that are, short duration.
Indeed.
And when we talk about short duration, we are talking about maybe because of the climate change, instead of 3 months or 4 months, you are having 2 months or even less. This is the target. So I think I agree with you. The issue of hydroponic, for example, is a new additive, what they call vertical farming. And the youths are ready to take this on, because Absolutely. It is something that comes with technology, and it is something that is driven, because you are doing it under controlled environment.
Absolutely.
Okay? So I believe, based on all of what we are doing, the results will begin to show themselves as the harvest seasons come on board. Just like we have reported that of the wheat, that of rice is oncoming, that of maize is there, because if you look at maize, for example, you need maize for the poultry industry. That's a major challenge, and we are trying to solve that also, so that the poultry industry will have enough feed to be able to...
Hold that thought, Honorable Minister. We're going to go on a short break, and when we return, we're going to continue this conversation and also look into some critical matters that have been raised with the Ministry of Agriculture in the past 1 year. Still with us, everyone, as we continue to probe the Tinubu administration in its first year in office.
Let me ask the question, what does this say to you as to the seriousness of these threats?
Once I have not done anything to contravene the provision of the law in this country, you cannot say you are better than me.
The law is clear as to what happens when you conclude your 35th year in service.
My name is Agric. We'll see you tomorrow, God willing. Bye-bye for now.
Our planet, our home, threatened by man's activities with fears of mass extinction on the rise. On Green Angle, we examine the issues that affect our environment, seek solutions to put us on track to secure and restore a cleaner and greener world for generations to come. Our planet.
Thanks for staying with us, everyone. You're watching our special coverage of the May 29 celebrations. Our attention right now is turned to the Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. But let's take you to Rivers State, where we're also monitoring development in that part of the country on May 29. Correspondent Uche Okoro joins me now. Uche, what's happening there?
Right now, I am at the Obiwale International Conference Center, where we expect the governor of Rivers State to present his scorecard. As you can see behind me, that banner says the scorecard, an account of stewardship in 1 year of administration of Sir Siminala Ifubara, executive governor of Rivers State. So right now we expect any moment now we expect this event to kick off from the schedule. It was fixed for 10 a.m. Our dignitaries have already begun to arrive. The Speaker of the State Assembly have arrived. Members of the State Executive Council have arrived. And the host of traditional rulers have also arrived. And a number of dignitaries have arrived here at the Obiwale International Conference Center in Port Harcourt. So any moment from now, this event will kick off. The governor is expected to give an account of his stewardship to the people of Rivers State in the last 1 year, in the last and first 1 year of his administration here in the city. So that's what we're expecting to happen in the state any moment now.
Very clear about their stance on how the Fubara administration has fared, irrespective of the challenge he has back at home politically. Speak to us about the highlight of this account in the past year. What exactly do you think he's done specially and differently this time? What is headlining this document that Mr. Governor is sharing with the people?
We expect the governor to talk about, his government. He has built his government so far on three pillars. First, he talks about agriculture, he talks about healthcare, and he talks about education. He says his government is going to focus on these key areas. Of course, infrastructure development is something that is ongoing. Every administration tries to leave a mark in the area of infrastructure, as has been seen in the last few days, where the governor has gone around flagging off and inaugurating various projects. But today, we expect the document, the document of his scorecard to focus on education, healthcare, and agriculture. As far as the governor is concerned, it says that previous administrations haven't paid enough attention to these three very critical sectors, and so his administration is going to focus on them now that he has come on board. So we are expecting to talk about how much progress he has made in education. We are expecting to talk about how much progress he has made to revamp and revitalize the health sector of Rivers State. And of course, you know that Rivers State is hoping to harness its potentials in agriculture. So we are expecting to also talk about what they have done so far and what they intend to do in the coming years to harness the agricultural potentials of Rivers State. At the early stages of his administration, the governor talked about revitalizing a number of fish farms, a number of plantations and all of that, a number of state-owned agricultural facilities that have gone moribund. So he says, as coming on board now, he's going to revitalize this sector. So those are some of the 3 key areas that we are expecting to highlight when he comes on stage to give an account of his stewardship to the people of Rivers State. But as you rightly pointed out, all of that is being we also expect some form of politics to come on board, because you know the governor has said, yes, I've been at the helm of affairs for 1 year, but my administration actually hit the ground running 3 months ago, 4 months ago. Why? Because of the politics. So those are some of the issues that we expect to take the front burner when the governor comes on stage to present his account of stewardship to the people of Rivers State.
It sounds like while other governors are giving an account of 12 months or a year, Mr. Governor is going to be given 3 to 4 months. If I'm quoting you accurately, Uche. But then, all eyes on Rivers.
Yeah, you're correct, Nifemi.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, Nifemi, you're correct.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, Femi, you're correct. You know, the governor has always said that, you know, initially when on the 14th of May specifically, when the governor began his 1 year in office activities, there were a lot of criticisms that he hasn't done enough, that he hasn't done so much in the last 1 year, that the people of Rivers State do not have that much to celebrate. And then at the next event, when after those comments were made on social media, mainstream media, the governor said that he has heard about these comments, but people need to understand that he actually began governance, actual governance began about 4 months ago. That's counting back to, you know, the start of the political crisis. Said that right from May 29th, when he took over the helm, he was sworn in as governor. The government hasn't been able to really do anything because of the political intrigues of the state. So it is, like you said, indeed it's an account of stewardship of perhaps 6 months, not 1 year. But as far as the government is concerned, it is so far so good. But I think at the end of the day, by the end of today, the people of Rivers State will be the judge.
Well, we expect to hear more from Mr. Governor himself. He makes a lot of headlines these days when he addresses the issues in Rivers State, and we also know that he will make some political statement. Correspondent Uche Okoro live for us in Port Harcourt. We'll be back with you for more updates in the coming hours. The Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Abubakar Kyari, says about 309 billion naira was injected into the Nigerian economy through harvest in the last 1 year as a way of ensuring food security by President Bola Tinubu's administration. We're getting some clarity as to that and what that really means. The minister explained that over the last 1 year, President Tinubu's agenda on food security has been on course, with programs on food production sustained to impact positively on Nigerians. He also added that the ministry is focused on ramping up massive production of staple crops using technology and mechanization to achieve this goal. Agricultural transformation, enhancing productivity, as well as ensuring that farmers have the necessary support to thrive, is also some of the goals to ensure food security and drive down food inflation by this administration. I'm joining the studio, Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Aliyu Sabi Abdullahi. Thank you for staying the course on the program. I'm so excited you're here. I want you to quickly touch on, you know, how the role the ministry has played in the past months as regards palliatives, because I recall at some point when, you know, the news came out that lawmakers had been given a certain amount of money to give to their constituency. The ministry was mentioned quite a lot. Did the Minister of Agriculture play any significant role in this regard? Let us clear the air right now so that Nigerians can understand what really happened.
You see, what happened is this. The strategic reserve had some quantity of grains, and Mr. President ordered that we release 42,000 metric tons. The 42,000 metric tons was released to states through the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA. They handle the logistics. and you are aware that different states are receiving it at different times, because the logistics of such volume is massive. We're talking about more than 1,000 trucks of, that is trailers. Now, the aspect of the National Assembly was in the supplementary, emergency intervention. And we did the procurement for members of the National Assembly. So you should understand that when National Assemblies are assigned or allocated...
Was it 100 billion as was quoted?
Well, I cannot say exactly this is the figure, but I knew that there were provisions made that each member of the National Assembly can provide palliative to this particular amount.
Who determined what was procured?
There's a procurement process.
Okay.
Procurement is a law. And in doing the procurement,
I'm saying, did you get food or you got some other?
No. What happened is this: in the provision in the budget, the bulk of it is for them to have food, and some of them actually had other things that support production. So it's not just the aspect of the palliatives. Also, some of them were interested in items that they would give to their farmers, so that the farmers can go into production.
They could determine what they wanted for the people.
Yes, because they are representative of the people. But overall, what needs to be understood is that it's not money that was given. It was projects.
So you
and
procure
within
for all
that
of
context, the procurement
for
most of these grains, the ones that were included in our own ministry, we handled. Okay. And it is actually done based on the Procurement Act.
So the Ministry of Agriculture did procure these commodities for all the lawmakers?
I can't say for all.
Okay.
Like I said, some included it in the ministry, because there are other entities that are also capable of doing so. But the ones that are with us, we handled it. And of course, there is due diligence that you must do in the course of executing any procurement, service.
So after procuring, you just hand it over to...
They are the representatives of the people. And many of them, as you can see in the media space, many of them have been conducting their own exercise to provide the support to the citizens that they represent.
We understand that the ministry also procured and distributed to all states and FCT 58,500 metric tons of milled rice.
Milled rice, yes.
To dampen the escalating prices.
Escalating price, yeah.
Did that work, practically?
Well, you see, you cannot really sit down and say it did not work. Because if you had not done that, well,
I said it did work.
It worked.
All right.
Because it stabilized the price to an extent. It's a matter of market dynamics. It's a matter of supply and demand. And I know for a fact that at that particular period, first people even said it wasn't available. And I want you to know, we did not go to market to do the procurement. It was strategic procurement using the association of millers. So the millers associations are the ones that did the, what do they call it, crowdsourcing from their members and made it available, and it was distributed. Now, I want you to understand that this is a continuous issue, because food is a daily thing. And one challenge will come, another one will exit. As we solve this, another one will come up. So we are aware of that. And that explains why, as a ministry, we are looking at what we call food system transformation, so that you introduce the element of sustainability, so that year on, you are able to guarantee that there is food and you can modulate even the price.
So all the 58 metric tons of rice are out to the states?
They've all been distributed to various states.
Can you recall what the figure was before and after? I'm talking about the prices in the market.
Well, I don't have that figure here.
Okay.
But one thing I can say for sure is that, don't forget, the market is dynamic. You solve a problem today. If the dynamic changes, even external to you, it is going to impact on that. And what drove all of this, shock? It was the Russian-Ukraine war, which is still ongoing. And so in terms of global demand and supply, this has been affected, and all countries are dealing with it at various levels of distortions. But for us in Nigeria, we are aware and we are making effort, because we have a variety of food staples. So it's not just the rice issue we are staying on. And that explains why in our programming, we are focusing on all the major staples, including the roots and tubers. We are focusing on them in this rainy season, so that we will give massive support to farmers for them to be able to do the production. And that means in 3-4 months' time, we should have massive injection again of additional source of food. Right now, for the dry season, a number of states, right now, if you go to the field, you'll see a number of people who have done the rice season, dry season rice farming, for example, they are there harvesting. So it's a continuous thing. And we are aware. That explains why we are making effort to continuously give farmers the support. Because we are aware at our own level that if you can continuously increase the supply and guarantee supply with the other elements of governance, for example, logistics is a major issue, and you are aware that the president has already declared we are going to continuously support CNG vehicles. So when that holds sway, you can imagine how it is also going to impact.
The nationwide deployment is expected to happen today, but the most important thing is seeing how fast the conversion will happen in the coming days, because it's still just a few
these are issues that don't happen at a flash.
Absolutely.
You know, sometimes when you want to do certain things, even like this distribution, it's not as if it's an SMS. One click, it goes to 1 million people. The logistics involved is enormous, and you must plan it. And that is what is happening. And we are working together with the Office of National Security Advisor, with all the security people providing support for this. And that explains why it's not something you should just, because you remember what happened when some hoodlums were attacking vehicles carrying goods. We don't have to encourage that. So
I think it was in Niger where the state government even restricted rice from going out of the state.
No, it wasn't. I don't think that was the issue.
No. I'm saying at some point, a particular state government restricted the exportation, if I can put it that way, of rice in a particular quantity to step out of the state, so that there will be enough distribution.
That is it. It's a matter of demand and supply.
But the other feelers we're getting right now is that smallholder farmers in rural areas still suffer because of a large chunk of funds budgeted to help them not getting to them. What are you doing about this?
Very good. Before we came on board, there were many programs that were touted to have dished out billions and billions and billions. That distortion created a collection of fake farmers and portfolio farmers. So when we came on board and we declared some of these programs, many people thought that it's going to be business as usual. We said, no, sorry, this is business unusual. And I will tell you, in the programming, the National Agricultural Growth Scheme, Agro Pocket, we did, was done based on electronic. That also is what we have started, but it's not going to solve the problem totally. What will solve the problem is for us to now have a physical knowledge of where the farms are located. And technology is going to help us to do this. And just last week, the National Bureau of Statistics, we had a collaboration that was done, and they came to give us the output. They are able to show us how they are capable of tracing where these farms are. So we are aware now there is technology for us to be able to know where our farms are, and we are working this year to see how we can bring that on board to cure this issue of fake farmers and the portfolio farmers I have mentioned. You will see there are people who are farmers but they don't have farms because they rent farms. You understand? So all of these things will become clear if we are able to execute this program. Now, let me say this. We can't solve all the problems we met just by one event or within 1 year. But what I can say is that in line with the vision and the character of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in laying solid, sustainable foundation for his interventions, we in the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security are following suit by saying, let's get the basics right. And that is what we are doing. So that when we do that, subsequent years, we will know exactly the type of farmers we are dealing with, the type of farms we are dealing with, their location, what they have, and what they do. And another example is, if you are planting on soil. Even if it is the hydroponics which we have mentioned before, it has to be soil. So that soil has to be, in the case of hydroponics, you have a particular platform where you add all of this.
I'm told we have to go now. So if you can, in a minute or two, keep us abreast with what's happening with recapitalizing Bank of Agriculture and the Nigerian Agriculture Insurance Corporation, for farmers to be able to, access credit and what have you. And also, there are concerns about the need to strengthen institutions, like the NADF, for instance, research institutes, colleges of agriculture.
Yeah.
What is the plan, and where are you in that plan?
All right, thank you very much. As it is for the Bank of Agriculture and NIC, the National Economic Council, under the Vice President, Senator Kashim Shettima, had actually taken up that challenge. And they've done some work, which is still work in progress. But the whole idea is to strengthen the institution so that they'll be able to provide that service. In the case of strengthening institutions, the NADF just came on board, so they are new. And what we have done with that institution is to say that lay a solid foundation for intervention into our various institutions. And they are also working on that to make sure that our research institutes are going to be able to function based on modern technology and based on what innovations that are all about, especially digital technology, for example. So we are working along that line, and our intention here is to strengthen the research institute so that they'll be able to provide all the required technologies. Right now, this year, all the research institutes are being charged to provide the necessary breeder and foundation seed for their mandate crops. Because we've released 23 varieties, there have been many other varieties that have been released, but these have to be made available to farmers. And the only way you can make them available is to get the early generation, germplasm, that is the breeder seed, which they have used to develop this technology, so that you make it available. Get your foundation stage, one, which you can now use to provide the certified seed that goes to farmers.
Absolutely.
Remember, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu got it right in his manifesto when he said, plant the right seed, feed an entire nation. We've taken notice of that, and we have revived the National Seed Planning Committee, which will plan for all the seed types we require. In the case of tree crops, for example, cocoa, oil palm, all of this, there should be a plan towards making sure the improved cocoa variety, for example, is available to farmers.
All right. Senator Abdullahi, we have to go now. I think Nigerians are counting on this process, and I also know that as politicians, that time is ticking.
Yeah.
And so Nigerians are in a haste to see all of these come together.
We are equally in a haste, but then we don't have time, we don't have control over time. So we have to be patient, and I want Nigerians to give us that benefit of the doubt. After all, renewed hope is here.
Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Ali Sabi Abdullahi, thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you for having me.
And we wish you all the best.
And thank you for having us on this